Hey folks, and welcome to the Truck King YouTube channel. Sitting next to me is the 2022 Ford Maverick. In fact, we chose this truck as our truck of the year, but so far we've only driven the EcoBoost engine, but that's about to change. This is the hybrid, and there's so much to talk about here. So we're gonna go on a long drive, we will do real world fuel economy, and then we just have to discuss whether the hybrid is the right choice for the Maverick. So let's start off with the Walkaround. This is a 2.5-liter 4-cylinder naturally aspirated engine mated to that hybrid setup with a total system output of 191 horsepower. And all of that power is sent through an electronically controlled CVT. You do need to know going for the hybrid power plant is front wheel drive only. So if you want an all-wheel drive Maverick, you have to go for the bigger EcoBoost. If you also want to tow 4,000 pounds with the Maverick, you also have to go for that bigger EcoBoost. So it is going to depend on what you want to do. However, now normally I would say, well, is the hybrid worth the money? That's not the case here because the hybrid is the base engine. So to bump up to the EcoBoost from the hybrid, you're gonna pay $2,500 Canadian. And that's really what makes the hybrid in this Maverick a unique proposition because this is the base engine. We have to talk about the trim lineup here as well. So Maverick is available as XL, XLT, or Lariat. In the United States, you can get any powertrain with any trim. Here in Canada, though, that's not true. Ford will not sell you a hybrid Lariat, so you can't get a top trim with the hybrid engine. This then, the XLT hybrid, is essentially the most expensive hybrid you're going to find here in Canada. So if you do bump up from XL to XLT, you get a couple of features like 17-inch wheels down there, a couple things back here in the bed, like these tie downs come standard, and you get your little storage cubby over here. Those things come with XLT. An interesting story sort of in the entire world of trucks has to do with payload, and this Maverick demonstrates it perfectly. There's sort of a thought that you're gonna spend more money on a bigger truck with more features and get more payload, right? You should be able to carry more. That is not the case. The top trim trucks generally have lower payload because they're so heavy, and that just goes for half tons these days in general. And that's one of the areas these little compact trucks are really gonna make strides because this hybrid with front wheel drive only has a payload of 1,417 pounds. That is honestly more payload than we have seen out of most of the half tons that we test. So you have to really give it up to Ford. Going small and lightweight allows you to carry a lot of stuff.
So right now we're gonna see if Steve fits that and his monster baby seats.
But first, let's just take a look at this back seat back here. So the one thing I want to point out right away, it's not 60/40. This is just a bench, and the whole bench either lifts up or drops down. Now, if you do lift this up, you get big storage cubbies, plus there's access to your battery right here, which is handy. Now we close that down, we bring the seat backs down, and you get access to some tools, but also 3 top tethers for your forward-facing child seats. And these are normal top tethers. There's no confusing loops or redirect things here. That is also nice. And now finally, let me climb in. So here in the hybrid, this is 35.6 inches of rear seat legroom, and this seat is pushed a little bit forward, but honestly, it's quite a spacious back seat. And I do have to point out that the Maverick on paper has more back seat space than the current Ford Ranger does. So if you want the biggest back seat out of a small Ford pickup, you don't get a Ranger, you get a Maverick, and that seems absolutely true. I got more than enough headroom, knee room. Yes, just like in the front seats. In the back, this truck is a small truck with a big interior footprint. And now let's see how my baby seat fits. So I mentioned 3 top tethers. So this is just my forward-facing seat. You'd have to open up the back like this, thread your top tether through, and then hook it up. But like I said, honestly, compared to a lot of trucks, that is a really simple system. And then finally, we have 2 lower latch positions, 1 on each side, which I like as well. There's not a lot to complain about here. I just wish it was a 60-40 split so I didn't have to commit the entire bench being up. Besides that, the back seat here is really nice. here we are now driving in this Maverick, and I think the story of this hybrid, again, has to do with sort of what you're getting and then what you're giving up. Now, the biggest thing you're giving up is all-wheel drive. Straight up, if all-wheel drive is a necessary factor for you, if you think it's something you absolutely need, well then of course you rule the hybrid out. On the flip side though, now let's talk about fuel economy, because if you go for the all-wheel drive Maverick, you get a 25 mile per gallon combined rating. Go for the hybrid, that jumps to 37 miles per gallon combined. It's a massive fuel economy difference. And let me remind you once again that going for the hybrid is less expensive. So you're gonna save at the dealership and then you're gonna save at the pump. That is a compelling option. And then finally, I think that what makes it even more compelling to me is that here in an XLT, this is a mid-trim, I don't feel as though we're giving up much compared to the Lariat. The Lariat has some nicer materials inside, but the actual kind of the bones of it in terms of the touchscreen that we're getting up here and the features that we're getting are nearly the same. So with this vehicle, I actually think going for a lower trim hybrid is the sweet spot. It's where it makes the most sense. And all that comes down to also how it drives, and you're driving it, so why don't you share your thoughts now on how this little thing drives.
I've said it before, whether it's the hybrid or the EcoBoost. I mean, it drives like a truck. However, it's not beating you up. It's quiet in here. All the buttons, switches, dials, everything in here is familiar. It's well laid out. The cabin is very squared up, so you can see even with our monster jackets here, you know, we've got lots of room. There's really nothing in this truck that I could say is, wow, I really dislike this. I like everything really about it. And if you're getting into this and fuel economy is important, which, quite frankly, $1.50 a liter in Canada today, and not looking like it's going down anytime soon.
In Ontario.
Yeah, and out west, it's way worse. Yeah. So, you know what? Fuel economy is going to be the issue of the year coming up. So, yeah, good on Ford. And maybe sometimes, you know, timing, you just get lucky with the timing.
Sure, and we might as well now do some real-world fuel economy because I gave you the government numbers. So let's cut to my little road trip and we'll see what this thing can do. Here's the result. We managed 7.5 liters per 100 kilometers over a 100 kilometer road trip on secondary highways, averaging about 90 kilometers per hour. Okay, Dad, now we gotta feel the power. So this is 191 horsepower sent through a CVT. Okay. And it's not bad. I mean, typical CVT, it kind of goes, wah, and then you feel the vehicle catch up to the sound you're hearing. But I don't know, it didn't feel unacceptable, I guess is the best way to put it. It felt fine.
No, that's the thing with the hybrid. I mean, first of all, the engine itself is naturally aspirated. The hybrid is going to help at the lower end. Mm-hmm. So it was like a straight line acceleration. Mm-hmm. There was no lag, there was no dip, there was no peak. Mm-hmm. It just nice, just like that.
But again, if you're gonna go, well, I'm gonna go for the hybrid, but it's gonna be so slow or underpowered, I wouldn't say that at all, right?
No. And you know what? If you need more than this, well then don't look at this. But I'm gonna say for 97% of people, they will be just fine with what's in here. When you first get in this, if you go down to the dealer and you want to test drive it and you step on the brakes as you would in your own car, you'll be shocked to see just how much they grab. So the idea here is that braking force wants to make as much electricity as possible, so it's aggressive. However, as I discovered, after the first couple of applications, I went, okay, I get it. I got to be a lot more gentle. And you know what? Within 30 minutes, I didn't have any more issues. But I pointed out because the very first time you do it, you'll be like, holy crap, what's up with this? But you know what? You get used to it very quickly. And then you understand that what you're doing is actually capturing energy, which is really kind of a cool concept. Because in every car out there, we're losing energy every single time you apply brakes, whereas in a hybrid, you're actually doing something with it. You're making electricity and reusing it.
And like a lot of companies do with their hybrids, Ford has a fun little EV coach, which will try to maximize your regenerative braking, and then it will also try to maximize just your efficiency to make sure you're just using power as often as you can. You can see how it works here, but it's always fun. It's like a little game you can play while you're driving.
Makes your driving very smooth, but never mind you. You know what? If you got a kid and they're learning how to drive, you put that EV coach on and you say, listen, you stay in the little boxes. You never go outside the electric box. You don't go into the high hybrid range. And when you're regenerating, you try to stay in the green box. So it'll teach them to be really smooth.
Well, folks, we have arrived at the end of this one. So what is the verdict? Well, if you want a pickup truck with really good fuel economy, here is your answer right here. Ford saw a problem, which is that trucks are getting too big and too thirsty, and the answer is the Maverick, and I do think this is the correct answer. This is a nice little truck. Now, like always, I want you to go below. Let me know what you think down there in the comments. While you're down there, don't forget to hit like, hit subscribe, hit join to become a member, and then come right back here to Truck King to see what we're testing next. See ya.